There is a $3 item sitting in your kitchen drawer right now that is secretly made of stone, but you can bend it completely in half. The scientist who invented it spent almost 40 years calling it a worthless pile of useless glue, thrown away as a total failure. Yet, just a few years later, that exact same sticky failure saved entire squadrons of Allied bomber planes during the freezing high-altitude dogfights of World War II. Today, it seals your windows, protects your phone, lines baby bottles, and handles oven temperatures that would melt solid plastic into a puddle of toxic sludge. It goes by the name silicone, but the way it is actually created from ordinary beach sand involves an industrial process so intense and a chemical trick so clever that almost nobody realizes what they are actually holding when they pick up a simple red spatula. Before we break down how sand transforms into flexible rubber, we have to clear up a massive mistake that millions of people make every single day. If you spell it without an E at the end, silicon is a hard, shiny, metallic element dug straight out of the ground that powers the microchips inside your computer and smartphone. That is why the tech hub in California is named Silicon Valley. But add that single letter E to the end, and silicone becomes a completely synthetic material that does not exist anywhere in nature. You cannot dig silicone out of the earth. Humans have to build it from scratch, molecule by molecule, and the journey begins in a place you would never expect. Imagine standing on a beach, scooping up a handful of quartz sand. That sand is silicon dioxide, meaning silicon atoms are locked in a death grip with oxygen atoms. To break those atoms apart, workers dump tons of sand into a giant electric arc furnace alongside carbon, heating the mixture to a terrifying 1,800 degrees Celsius. That is over 3,200 degrees Fahrenheit. At that extreme heat, the carbon aggressively strips the oxygen away from the sand, floating off as gas and leaving behind raw silicon that is nearly 99% pure. That solid block of silicon is crushed down until it turns into a fine gray powder as soft as baking flour. Now, here is where the story takes a weird turn, because that gray powder is still not silicone. It is just the raw ingredient. In the 1940s, two scientists named Richard Müller in Germany and Eugene Rochow in America independently figured out the missing link in what chemists now call the direct process. They blasted hot methyl chloride gas straight through that gray silicon powder at 300 degrees Celsius, using a tiny splash of copper as a chemical matchmaker. The copper forced the silicon atoms to join hands with small carbon branches. What came out of that reaction was a chaotic, tangled soup of volatile molecules. To fix this, workers run the liquid through massive distillation columns, carefully separating the molecules degree by degree based on their exact boiling points. Once the absolute purest drops are isolated, engineers trigger the most unexpected step in the entire manufacturing pipeline. They blast it with ordinary water. The second water hits the liquid, a violent chemical reaction occurs. Chlorine atoms instantly rip away and escape as burning hydrochloric acid gas. Left behind are molecular pieces that automatically snap together into infinite, repeating chains. The resulting chemical backbone alternates one silicon atom, one oxygen atom, then silicon, then oxygen, over and over again. Look closely at that atomic structure, and you will notice something incredible. It is almost identical to the rigid atomic skeleton found in solid granite, sand, and glass. Silicone is literally flexible stone. The only difference is that small carbon branches hang off the sides of the chain, giving the hard mineral structure the ability to bend, stretch, and spring right back into shape. Have you ever wondered how the exact same substance can be a slick oil, a squishy gel, or a rock-hard rubber mat? It all comes down to how long those molecular chains are built and how tightly they are linked together. Keep the chains short and loose, and you get smooth silicone oil used in hair serums, engine lubricants, and makeup. Connect those chains lightly into a soft network, and you get a flexible gel used for medical wound dressings. But if you cross-link those chains into a dense 3D web and pack it with ultra-fine silica powder, it transforms into high-grade silicone rubber capable of taking a beating. If you have ever done home repairs and squeezed a tube of fresh sealant around your bathroom sink, you definitely notice that sharp, sour vinegar smell wafting into the air. Most people think that terrible smell means the chemical is expired or toxic, but that sour stench is actually proof of active chemistry working in real time. Standard consumer sealants pull moisture directly out of the ambient room air to cure, and as those polymer chains lock together, They release acetic acid, the exact active chemical that gives household vinegar its pungent odor. That smell is simply the signal that a wet paste is converting into solid, flexible glass. And here is a frustrating paradox that trips up professional plumbers all the time. Why will fresh silicone sealant absolutely refuse to stick to old silicone that has already dried? Once silicone fully cures, its smooth molecular surface becomes almost completely inert, meaning virtually no liquid or adhesive on Earth can grip onto it. If you do not scrape away every single microscopic bit of the old layer before applying fresh sealant, the new bead will peel right off like a strip of tape within a matter of weeks. The man who laid the groundwork for this entire industry was a British chemist named Frederick Kipping. He spent almost 40 years of his life in the early 1900s tinkering with silicon compounds. He was even the one who coined the word silicone. Yet, after decades of meticulous laboratory work, Kipping looked at the sticky, clear residue coating his test tubes and wrote it off in his journals as an uninviting, useless glue. He died believing his life's work was an absolute dead end. He had no idea that World War II was about to erupt. As Allied military planes pushed higher into the sky, the extremely thin atmosphere at freezing high altitudes caused intense electrical sparking inside aircraft engines, ruining ignition systems and causing planes to plummet from the sky. In 1943, a newly formed company named Dow Corning realized that Kipping's useless glue could withstand extreme cold and high voltage without breaking down. They coated the military ignition harnesses in silicone, instantly stopping the electrical arcing and keeping Allied squadrons safely in the air. That extreme durability comes directly from the silicon-oxygen backbone, which requires vastly more thermal energy to break than the simple carbon-carbon bonds found in ordinary petroleum plastics. That is why you can pull a silicone baking mold out of a -50-degree freezer and drop it straight into a 250-degree Celsius oven without it cracking, melting, or leaching harsh chemical fumes. Regular plastic would shrivel up, melt, and catch fire instantly. Despite its superpowers, silicone is not immortal. Outdoor hardware sealants can still degrade and harden after years of direct ultraviolet sun exposure. Furthermore, despite aggressive advertising claims, raw silicone does not kill bathroom mold. Manufacturers must mix chemical biocides directly into the gel to deter spores, and if dirty water sits on the surface long enough, black mold will still grow right on top of it. When it comes to the environment, silicone does not biodegrade like organic wood or paper. However, unlike conventional plastics, it does not shatter into dangerous microplastics that choke marine life. When incinerated or broken down in specialized facilities, it harmlessly reverts right back into non-toxic silica sand, carbon dioxide, and water vapor. From a nameless grain of sand blasted in a furnace to a military lifesaver and a kitchen staple, silicone proves that the most revolutionary materials on Earth often start out looking like a complete mistake.